All right. Hello and welcome to Sass Bites. This is your weekly bite of Sass during your lunch break. I'm Micah Godbolt. You can follow me there, Micah Godbolt. Follow Sass Bites at Sass Bites. Also check out the rest of our YouTube channel at youtube.com/sassbites for all of our previous episodes. Been gone a couple weeks as we had Sass Summit last week or the week before, and last week just pretty much boned it and completely just missed the week. It got busy. So I'm doing what I was going to do last week today. And what I want to do is I want to get back on track with the project we've been building over the last several weeks. I actually got a chance to demo at Sass Summit and put a bunch of work into it. So we're going to be kind of catching up from where we were as well, and talking about some of the stuff that I've done to update that project since then. So what I wanted to do today specifically was dive into Hologram a little bit more. Hologram is a style guide generator, a documentation tool that we're currently using on Red Hat. I've used it a couple other times in the past. It's a really great tool, and I want to kind of take a look at it today of what it can do, how it kind of works the insides, and then just a quick look at how it's working in our project. But I really want to get kind of under the hood on it because I kind of glanced over it in the past. So let me go ahead and share this up and we'll take a look at it. All right. So first things first, here is a hologram page. It's built by the team at Trulia, which is a site that builds a website and app for finding homes and buying homes. I think they're actually, I know they're just purchased by Zillow. So they must have been doing a pretty good job at it. But they've got this project. They are continuing to develop and work on it, and it's a great tool. So go check it out. The installation should already have been done. If you're following along, it should have already installed that gem. But if you are new and this is the first time you've seen it, we are going to want to install the hologram gem, which we can do with gem install hologram. And that'll make sure you have the gem locally. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do just a real simple, super simple setup of a hologram session. So we're going to do a compass create, and let's call this hologram demo. So I'm going to create just a real simple compass project, which we have a config.rb, just a Sass folder and stuff like that. I just need something to be able to look at, a Sass file for it to be able to look at. And so the next thing we're going to do, this is the hologram portion of it. We want to start out with our base files. And for that, Hologram's got a great hologram init, which will generate the files that are necessary to actually run hologram. So we'll do that. And you can see it creates a YAML file, creates a doc asset folder, and then inside that there's a header and a footer HTML. So let's take a look at those files and what they're all about. So the stuff that's created, the main one is right here. This is the YAML file. And this is really similar to the config.rb. If you take a look at it, they're different languages, but they do very much similar things. They talk about paths and options and stuff like that. So let's just go through these real quick. The directory containing the source files to parse is currently Sass, and that's right. That's the same as here. If you're using SCSS or style sheets or whatever, just you can change that. So it's going to parse the entire directory. It's going to recursively look through all the files inside of that directory, which is really nice. The destination is where where our style guide is going to be built. Currently called docs, but if we're like in our case, we're building this application that everything compiles down, we might have like a build folder, and then inside of that we have like a hologram or docs or style guide or something like that. So again, your mileage may vary, however you want to set up. Documentation assets. Basically, it does need to know, and it gives you the ability to set all of your templates, whether it's images, extra CSS, extra JavaScript, how you want it. Hologram doesn't make any assumptions, at least doesn't make many assumptions about how your style guide looks. It really is just a generator. Anyway, you can have some dependencies for build, and I actually haven't really played this too much. But the other thing is you can also have an index file. And in this case, it's you could have either a category. So if I had a basics category, that would be my index. Or I can do it as you can have it, I think, index MD, something like that. I know we do it on the other project. So you can have it as an actual index file. We won't get into that exactly here. I just want to show those quick settings here. So the other thing that it does bring in is this header and footer. And like any CMS, I mean, really what this is, it's building building pages. So it's basically, it's kind of a CMS. It's going to have a header and footer. These are the templates it's going to use. It's going to be using Ruby markup to actually use these templates and build everything for you. So if you're familiar with Ruby or really any templating language, you're going to see some familiarities here. This is basically saying, hey, Ruby, print out the file name right here, print out the categories, and do this over a list of things. So this is building out your navigation. And then this is building out all of your individual elements, name and title and all that. And then footer is where it's just going to drop in its tag and in the extra JavaScript and stuff like that. So these are the base files it's going to use basically to make each of your pages. Now, as you build something more complex, these files are going to get more complex, and it's going to be used bringing in more assets and setting up a much more complex structure. And we look at the Cortana theme, which we'll do in a little bit. That's exactly what they do. But this gives you the starter pieces that will allow you to make what you need to make. So what I'm going to do is real quick, I'm going to go to their quick start guide and go down and grab this button. So here's some documentation for a button. And I'm going to take that over to my Sass and put it right inside here. I don't need at the moment. So here's some documentation, and this is the way that the Hologram does documentation. And this can go in anything, by the way. This can go in a Sass file. It can go in a JavaScript file. It can go in a CSS file. I believe it's supposed to be able to go in a Markdown file, but there's an issue with that because it's not actually picking it up properly. So you can put it, actually what we've been doing, we've been moving this off into a CSS file separate, and it parses that just fine. So we kind of have our Sass stuff, and then we have separate files for documentation. And being CSS, it doesn't get pulled in anyway. So let's talk about the anatomy here. Here's our little meta block. I can't remember the exact title for it, but it has the information about this this piece of documentation. So the title is buttons. The name is button. Name is used, I believe, for like parent-child relationships and that kind of stuff. And anyway, then the category is base CSS, and we can choose other categories and such like that. Here we have just some, this is all Markdown you get to type out. So you can use Markdown stuff like the dashes, those hash marks, and you can do this for bold, those kind of things. So just about anything you can do in Markdown, you can do in here. And then we have some code examples. You see HTML example. I usually like to do a return here just for some clarity. So HTML example and everything that goes inside of this is going to be printed out. Not just HTML on the page, but also it's going to print out the HTML as like to be able to see it, like it renders the HTML as a preview, so you can read the HTML on the page with syntax highlight and those types of things. And then a little more text down at the bottom. You can have a little more meta information about it. And really, you can do anything what you want to do here. You can put links, you can put tables, you can put images. This is a place to document. I mean, it's really kind of a free-form page, which is kind of nice and kind of scary at the same time because, well, what do I type? So you need to come up with some conventions often to do that. But it is a free-form area where you can put information in, whether it's straight up markup or just documentation. So now what we do when we actually want to run this and actually generate our site, we use the hologram commands. Let me do this here. Hologram, and then we need to get to our file, our YAML file. So if your YAML file is down in a folder, I usually hide it off in a folder, like a hologram folder. You just need to find that, but you need to point to the YAML file because you could hypothetically have multiple YAML files that like multiple hologram setups to run stuff differently. But if I do that, and it's saying it didn't generate the index because there's nothing for the basic category. That's pretty normal. Couldn't find that build dependency because I haven't written anything, but that's all right because I'm not using anything in there. But it says the build's complete, and let's take a look at what it's done. So when we go and hit docs here, we have a file. It's pretty simple. It spits out one HTML file. So we can look at this inside of a browser. Open in browser. Here we go. And this is what we have. Again, this is completely unstyled. It makes no assumptions on styles whatsoever. We've got our navigation up top. This thing is a sub-navigation. It's kind of hard to see without styles. You can see this is the markup being rendered, so you can see what the markup is. And then this is the actual markup as it would exist inside of a page. So here's the button, and then here is the anchor tag that's after it. And a little more text and our little footer and all that. So as you can tell, what it does, it takes the header, it takes the footer, takes your content, puts it in the middle, and now you've got a place where you can make a bunch of these Now let's go ahead and just do another one. So say this is in a different partial or something, but I've got buttons, and then here's my like main header or something like that, and we'll call this header, which is a category of like headers, and then in here we can have one. Of course, this stuff is kind of moot. We'll get rid of it. All right, and we save that, and we go and compile again. And of course, this is where grunt comes in handy, so you don't have to keep doing this. But you can see you can still also do it manually. And now I've got not only the base CSS file, but I've got one built for headers as well. And if I can look at that in the browser, you see I've got my little, this is the text that's used. I'm a header, is that rendered? And then you here, okay, now you can see we've got the different navigation. So I can jump over the base CSS, jump back to the header. So automatically creates navigation, allows you to jump between things. So that's really Hologram right there. It's templating. It's a little bit of rendering, how this gets rendered. There's a couple of cool things about it. You can actually override the rendering program or whatever you want to call it, and give you some more functionality there. But really, that's the basics of Hologram, is allowing you to do that. Now, what you can do though is you can build on top of that. As we mentioned earlier with these configuration YAMLs, we can create more assets. We can have more complex doc assets. We can have more JavaScript. We can have more CSS, and that's exactly what you get when you use something like the Cortana theme. So Cortana is a nice theme built for Trulia's Hologram style generator right there. There might be some others. I'd be really curious if there's others out there. This is really the main one I found. It's really good, but I know I've seen other hologram examples that have pretty complex themes. So I'm curious if there's others out there. But let's take a quick look at that. The sample of it. So as you can tell, much more styled. It takes an idea of what should this look like. It's actually doing syntax highlighting using a syntax highlighter library. So it's using bringing the CSS and doing all those types of things. It's got a search box, which uses some JavaScript and it has Angular underneath. Oh, that doesn't work. You can't scroll down. Oh well. So it has Angular underneath that actually looks through this array of pages and allows you to pick from something. So if I want to look at all the tables, I can do that and filter through it, and it's great. And I can get to those. We'll slide out. So we've seen all this. This is kind of what we've built. But to do this, let's take a quick look at kind of what they've built here. Game build. Yeah, there's a bunch of JavaScript, images, a bunch of CSS. If you jump in here, it's gonna be rough to see. Basically because it is there's a bunch of importance, bang important, because they want to make sure their styles fit where they need to fit. But anyway, you see you can bring in something like Cortana, which we've done using Bower, and apply that to the project. And if you used Tapestry before, yeah, it was inspired by Tapestry, and it's very, very similar. So then they've got instructions on here for the Bower install. So let's go ahead and jump over to ours again, Sass Bytes demo. And we'll just do grunts, and this should bring up grunts. Oh, npm install. I must have just pulled this down. So let's go ahead and do an npm install and bring it all in here. Yeah, I can't find grunts. Surprise. So we'll take a quick look at this because we've actually have not shown this off since I made all the updates for Sass Summit. We'll take a real quick look at it because I know there's a lot more that we could get into. So Bower is going to pull that theme down. And that's the nice thing with Bower pulling it down. We're not having to commit all that code into our repo. If they make updates, we can easily pull those updates down and all those kind of fun things. All right, now let's grunts. Hey, that's what I was expecting. It's going out and making sure we have the right gems. And once it's done that, it pulls Cortana in, builds everything we need. So we've done a bunch of stuff. We've changed a bunch of stuff since we last saw this. But the basic underpinnings of it all are going to be really similar. So we've got, what's a good thing to look at? So some of our components. So you can see we're using the Cortana theme again. And we've got some of this text highlighting highlighting right down here that gets actually displayed up there. And we can also parse through it like this. We can go like, where's my HTML? I guess like right there. Responsive image. For some reason my link's going over here. I need to fix that. So you can see we can jump through stuff with search. We can view all the stuff. So anyway, there's a lot of new stuff in here. I've updated the our theme with some more components and some additional layouts and those types of things I will be getting into as I go a little bit further. But let's take a quick look at some of the code just so we can make sure to see what that looks like. All right. So our hologram, you see it's the Cortana themes brought in by the Bower component. And this is all that's being required by Hologram to render. So you've got a custom renderer. I kind of mentioned that before, where you can customize the way that things are rendered, the way it takes those code blocks and changes them. Here's our header and footer again. And as I said, like much more complex, much more complex. It has its own Bower to pull stuff in, as well as its own CSS and its own JavaScript and some polyfills for HTML5 and that kind of stuff. So you can see it's a much more full theme that can be brought in. And all I need to do to be able to access that is in my YAML file. Basically, I need to say for my documentation assets are over in Cortana, and I'm using a custom markdown renderer, which is the Cortana markdown render. And all of these settings here, they've got those really explicitly stated out in the Cortana repo and explains how to set this up. But that's basically what we've done. We've gone from a really basic hologram setup that really just spits out a very unopinionated page which you could style and expand upon. Or you can jump straight into a Cortana theme or something like that that brings in a lot of assumptions about the styles, brings a lot of assumptions about the interactivity, and gives you a lot of that functionality out of the box. Now, personally, Cortana was great for us because it allows us to kind of sell the idea really quick as this really slick tool. But we're finding lots of things we want to change. And one of our goals within the next few months or whatever is going to be going back to it and kind of ripping pieces out and kind of building it back up again and kind of making our own fork of that theme, just using a lot of those ideas. So we have a place to start with, because there's a lot of stuff in there that would take way too long to write, and it's great what they've done. So you can make it your own, fork the theme, pull it in yourself. We've actually doing that with a couple of our grunt repos. So, but this gives you a quick idea of what the hologram gem allows you to do and how you can pull in a Cortana theme to make it sing. And we'll be diving more into this in the upcoming weeks to take a look at more of the things that have changed this over the last few weeks, because we've done a bunch of stuff. We've even gotten some unit testing built into it, some visual regression testing. So lots of cool stuff. We'll dive into that. If you have any other questions, check out Hologram, check out Cortana. If you have thoughts or feedback, love to hear them, what you think of it. If you have something, you can publish it. Love to see it. Unfortunately, we can't do our Red Hat one. It's kind of had a firewall and all that. But you can certainly see this one. Come play around with it. So take a look, have fun with it, and I will see you guys next week. And hope you have a good time jumping around Hologram. So, oh, by the way, if you caught the hologram being a gem joke in that naming title, I love it. So kudos to them. Anyway, catch you later, guys. Bye.